So let me just understand this process because this is insane to me that this is being done through WhatsApp. Like, that's what I have funny joke groups with my relatives overseas on. So you're telling me the World Health Organization, which obviously is one of the largest humanitarian organizations in the world, you and other doctors, you have to apply through them in order to be allowed to enter Gaza. And then they're the ones, I'm assuming they're having to then coordinate with the Israeli government or that Israeli organization you mentioned. And so all of this is happening is it an individual WhatsApp or is it like part of a gigantic group WhatsApp?
Yeah, it's exactly right. It's a bigger WhatsApp group. And this is a coalition of every international organization that's trying to work in Gaza. Like the organization that was helping me get into Gaza and I was going to work with was called GLIA, but they're all under the umbrella of the World Health Organization. So everybody is working with the World Health Organization to get in. You're submitting all of your documents to them. And the WHO is the intermediary between your approval and the Israeli military who has the final say on this. And so it's a huge operation. And it's something, again, there are all these different submissions that are required, documents. You're supposed to send in your CV, you're supposed to send in your background, all the certifications you have, and all of this, when it comes to the final decision, is communicated in such a rink-a-dink way. Like the fact
Yeah.
that you're getting this message from an unknown person, you don't know what the reason of rejection is, it's just your name in red. It's a miserable process, and I've been through it more than once, and it's really, really disgusting.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like this right now is the number one, number two, and number three thing in the news. And it's been that way for the past 20 months, or if not all three, it's in the top three. And this process of getting medical workers into Gaza to help innocent civilians is so rinky-dink. Like this is ridiculous. This is like organizing a neighborhood birthday party, probably even worse. That's insane to me. I'm wondering if I have to imagine they look at your social media, they look at everything, and probably in your case, and by the way, I look at your social media because I follow you, it's all fact based. You're not unhinged on your social media. As a matter of fact, I just saw an image you posted a few days ago of four babies on the same incubator. And in my mind, I showed a couple friends and I said, take a look at this. And my friend's wife just literally, I mean, she practically started crying, and she's like, I don't understand how those babies are even alive still. And many of them aren't, like that's insane. Okay, let's go back to 2008 because you've been going to Gaza really since 2008.
That's right. Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
2008, 2009 was Operation Cast Lead, which was the first Israeli military operation in Gaza since 2006.
Okay, so a lot of people think what's taking place in Gaza right now started October 7th, 2023. It didn't. I know that. But why don't you help us understand what were things like in 2008 with Operation Cast Lead and all that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's such an important point to understand that Gaza has been under a miserable siege and blockade since 2006. And the conditions on the ground are quite miserable. And I mean, I think right now, you look at it and you say, wow, before October 2023, things were actually pretty good. That's what my friends in Gaza say. But if you really look at what's happening on the ground, it's really tough. I mean, you're talking about more than 50% of the population is under the global poverty line. And you're talking about people who are going to grow up in this small strip of land. It's less than the length of a marathon. Gaza is less than the length of a marathon. At its widest, it's 7 miles wide. And people are stuck and trapped in this. It's impossible to get in. It's impossible to get out. It was very tough to get in. I mean, you're talking about a siege from all corners, and there is total control of the borders, of the sea, of the electromagnetic atmosphere above. I mean, this is you're talking about a place where it is a place where people will be born, never leave, and die there. And we have been working there since 2009 because after Operation Cast Lead, it was clear that okay, it's not going to be easy to evacuate somebody medically out of Gaza. Before October 7th, 2023, it's not going to be easy. But let's try to build up the local healthcare worker capacity. We have brilliant physicians in Gaza. All they're asking for is support in their professional growth and their ability to treat the local communities. And I want to point something out that I think is very important for people to understand, just because this is really gives you a glimpse of what life was like before October 2023. When we were trying to bring in medical equipment for these hospitals so these doctors could treat their patients, we were getting rejected the majority of the time. I mean, this is going through the Israelis. This is us applying through the Israelis, giving them what the parts look like, giving them their manufacturer numbers, telling them we want to bring it into this hospital at this time. And if it was something that was going to be delivering oxygen to somebody, 70% of the time it was getting rejected. We're talking about spare parts for CT machines so that they can continue to run, so people can get diagnosed with cancer. They can find out if their headache is because of a tumor, or an ultrasound machine that can help a pregnant lady understand, is her baby progressing normally? Is she going to be delivering on time? All of these things were getting rejected more than 50% of the time. And then on the flip side, when we would have kids with cancer who we were going to be evacuating out of Gaza, a third of the time they were getting rejected. And these kids also need to have companions that accompany them. We're not going to let a kid who's 9 years old with some pediatric cancer just leave Gaza alone. They need
Right.
a mom or a dad or a grandparent. Those people were getting rejected 67% of the time. So we're talking about miserable conditions in terms of just preserving life in Gaza before October 7th. And this was the case. And we saw in 2009, there was a military operation by the Israelis, 2012, 2014. 2021. I mean, we were seeing the aftermath of the Israeli military just decimate parts of Gaza. Of course, nothing has been on the scale of what's happened since October 7th. But before then, it was not like, oh, there was a place that was living and prospering and everybody was doing fine. We were
Right.
talking about a blockade on life in Gaza.
Yeah. And this goes all the way back to 2006. Honestly, I'll be very honest. I knew nothing about Gaza until maybe October 8th, 2023. I really didn't even know anything about it. And then when that attack happened, that's when I was like, oh wow, yeah, that doesn't seem good. Why did they do that? And then from there, obviously, my education process has taken place where I've really tried to understand, what is going on in this region. Prior to this, I think my only experience with it was the TV show Fauda on Netflix. And I will tell you, I've gone back and watched that show now, and I can barely get through it because I know the truth versus what they've displayed on there. But try to connect the dots with a lot of this stuff. And so one of the things I always hear the Israeli side talking about is how in 2005, we left Gaza. We took all the Israeli settlers out of Gaza and we gave them Gaza. And then when I was like, okay, well, what does that mean? When I researched it, that all that means is in 2005, they removed 8,500 settlers
Good
out
start.
of a population of, I believe, 2.5 million. So you had 2.4999 million Palestinians now. And then with the Israelis out of Gaza, that's when the siege started. That's when this concept of really turning it into an open air prison, based on my research, that's when that started. So then I'm like, oh my God. So that's what they did. They took their people out and then they turned it into this open air prison. Did I connect those dots?
Want the full truth? Watch the full Deep Shallow Dive interview next. And hit subscribe if you're done with narratives and ready to call a spade a spade.